serving as your prayer chaplain today. And no matter what you're growing through, our prayer chaplain team wants to pray with you about it. So seek one of us out after the service, and I will be standing at the back. Anita's here. Nana always likes to pray too with people if you like. So, and also to be included on our prayer list, you can fill out a form which is on the back table and put it in the prayer box before or after the service. Or you can click on the prayer request button on our website. So we've got lots of ways for you to send us your prayers that we take time and pray over each week, and then we send them off to Unity Village and they are prayed over for a month, 24 hours a day. So, with that said, we know that prayer does what? Prayer works, okay? So let's do that together now. I invite you to think of someone or something you'd like to send some love to as we pray together. As we sit in quiet and contemplate the people and situations to whom and to which we want to send love, let us think of the loved ones and send them healing energy. Feel and know that this God energy is having a positive impact on the people whose names are in your heart and on our prayer list. Joan Clapp, Sarah Henning, Adesola Onikoi, Linda Dunn, the Halstead family, Carol Velez, Manuela Ponce, Matt, Esther Randolph, Elise Stupello, Joshua Lawson, and all others whom we hold in love. As this love energy goes out from us to them, we affirm that these loved ones are whole, perfect, and complete. We know that the answers to their every need lives in the divine wisdom, vitality, and creativity within each of them. We give thanks for this truth and rest in the joyful knowing that each is being blessed. And because we have been promised that whatever we ask for, believing, we shall receive, we release these requests now fully and completely and give thanks. For wherever we are, God is, and all is well. So that we may truly let this truth sink into our consciousness as we continue to hold those who have asked for prayer in our hearts, let us meditate on the following words, perhaps saying them silently to yourself as I say them out loud. May you be happy. May you be well. May you be safe. May you experience peace and grace. May I be happy. May I be well. May I be safe. May I experience peace and grace. May all be happy. May all be well. May all be safe. May all experience peace and grace. And so it is. Amen.
I feel so relaxed and such a peaceful energy in the room. I think that we just need cots and we could take a nap. Like, there's a lot of prosperity in taking a nap. Except yesterday I had like the good nap, like the unintentional fell asleep on the sofa with the TV on, and it was lovely until 1 a.m. I was still awake because I had the good sleep at the unintentional time. Let me get the timer going. Congratulations, everybody. We'll get to lunch a little earlier because they got the technology. When we thought the technology wasn't working too well, I gave over my phone to at least stream it on Facebook Live, but then they got the technology working again. So now we have a better shot of getting out of here on time. Anyway, so we're in the midst of a series of lessons based on this book here that is called The Soul of Money, Transforming Your Relationship with Money and Life. And it's written by a lady named Lynne Twist. And she spent most of her career working as a fundraiser. And her passion really went into working with the Hunger Project. And so she has great lessons in this book. And this book is one of two books that are used for the Unity C class, which is SEE, Spiritual Education and Enrichment classes that are taught through Unity Worldwide Ministries. And it's this book and then the one written by Charles Fillmore called Prosperity. And since myself and Todd and Christina had just last November through January covered the full Prosperity book, and if you haven't read it and don't want to just read it yourself, it's on YouTube. We read it for you and have discussions. So, but we're looking at this one, and this is interesting for me because I am, I'll call myself a prosperity teacher, but I am a prosperity teacher who usually goes out of my way not to mention money because I think that most people get caught up in misdefining, is that a word? You know what I mean. I don't know if it's an actual word or not. I think it is, though. Charlotte has a doctorate, and she said it's okay. So of misdefining what prosperity is, right? Because is it incorrect to say $1 million in your checking account is not a reason to feel prosperous? Sure it is, but not because the $1 million in your checking account is prosperity. It's the sign or the symbol of prosperity flowing in your life. Same thing can be true if you don't have a checking account, but you wake up smiling and you have breakfast thinking, this is a great day already. Like, that is prosperity. And if you wake up on what they call the wrong side of the bed and you're like, this is not a good day, it's either too hot or it's too rainy or it's too whatever, and then you're like, you know what, let me grab hold of myself and recognize that my good flows from within me out, not the other way around. That is the definition of prosperity, of understanding what your source is and flowing from there, and understanding that you have control of that, and that if you focus in on peace, love, and joy, all the material stuff that most people end up pointing to as what the prosperity actually is, then that stuff flows a lot easier once you get the resistance out of the way, right? So in this section that we're looking at the search for prosperity today. And it really breaks down into two parts: a belief in scarcity and a belief in sufficiency. And how we've really all been taught from like way before we were born, the lessons that are being passed on of how we're supposed to believe in scarcity, and well, there's not enough, or there's never too much. We've all had a little something that we could use less of, right? So, but all the good stuff, it's fun to have lots and lots of the good stuff. But you try and eat one bite of cake more than you knew you should, and you regret it later, right? Those first few bites are great. Y'all know what I'm saying. I don't have to dig into that. So, so in looking at this, like what we gain an understanding in is truly in getting a key to a door that we either don't know exists or that we've set aside as something we're not even looking for the key to because it seems like an unrealistic goal, right? And that can be in lots of ways, right? There are examples we'll probably talk about before I'm done about people thinking that there are money goals that are unrealistic. Look, I'll tell you, I'm a 53-year-old single man, never been in any real significant relationship. So some people would say, well, I'd say that like the whole marriage thing is an unrealistic goal for you at this point because you've kind of set a pattern of how you're living, right? Well, I don't accept that, right? But I'm also like not just like searching just for that, because then that puts its own resistance, because if I'm searching for what isn't, if you're searching for what isn't, then really it's really difficult not to just keep looking at what isn't. And the more you pay attention to what isn't, that's what you're fertilizing with your attention and thus creating more of. So it's better if I can get to the place of like, I'm just having a good time today and doing what today brings about, right? And as best I can in that sometimes. It's not to say that struggles won't come up, and I never recommend looking for struggles. And yet, if you find yourself in the midst of one, you can in that moment be like, oh, you know what I've learned from every struggle that came before this one? On the first, they all end at some point. They're like storms, and there's always sunshine on the other side of it. And usually by the time I get to the sunshiny portion of it, I've grown. I've gained something from that moment. I've gained a new understanding that makes life a little easier to live if it shows back up again, right? Like, don't go look for Wally said we grow and we struggle, so let me go struggle. Don't do that. Because then you're probably not going to get the same kind of growth out of it even. I'm supposed to. No, you're just supposed to live your best moment. And it's the only one you got, right? So let me read you this quote that from Lynne Twist on scarcity, what she calls the great lie of scarcity. We live with scarcity as an underlying assumption, and it becomes the lens through which we experience life. Through that lens, our expectations, our behavior, and their consequences become a self-fulfilling prophecy of inadequacy. Oh, that's a typo. Lace. I don't even know what that means. Inadequacy, we're skipping a word, and dissatisfaction, right? So it's like if we get caught up into there's just not enough. And I've lived that, right, in my own ways. Like, I know people who talk about, college kids are supposed to be poor. They're supposed to just eat ramen because that's all they can afford. I didn't have that experience because I had two parents that were doing well and were willing to spend money on me, and sometimes the mistake of giving me a credit card. Where I'm like, well, yeah, Mama, I had so-and-so drove, so I felt I needed to buy their dinner too. When the truth is, so-and-so drove because I was at college at Appalachian and there was no liquor in Boone, so you had to drive to Blowing Rock. So I had to find the 19-year-old that I'd tap and say, you're driving tonight, we're going to Blowing Rock. Well, then I had to buy him something to eat because he was driving me, right? And my mama was paying for it, God bless her. But then I did find myself years later when I was supposed to be in adulthood and now, adulting and like doing that thing, I did buy into the starving artist that I thought I was supposed to be. So much so that when I started thinking about that, I don't remember the exact year, but there was one year that I had worked steady. I had 2 TV shows that I was working on as an extra, but I was union. So I was making good union money. I made the most money I think I've ever made in 1 year yet in life. And yet I felt like I was struggling to pay the bills the whole time because I had bought into this starving artist thing. And I had, before that year came up, used, I had the credit card game going so well. This is before the financial crash when they started pulling all that. That sometimes to pay one, I kept good credit the whole time, and somebody got some kind of payment every month. But sometimes the payment was I transferred the balance from this card to this card, but then it's like, and I would say to people sometimes when I was running up that, I'm like, yeah, I know building up credit card debt is not a good idea, but you know what's a worse idea? Not having a place to sleep, and not eating or not, so all that's to say, don't do that either, but on purpose. But if you're in the midst of it, don't spend too much time beating yourself up. Just start saying, you know what, I'm in the flow, and this is going to take care of itself, and allowing yourself to see it. Because if you're caught up in the struggle, if you're caught up in paying attention to the struggle, it's hard to see the sunshine once it's already there because you've got yourself caught up in your own cloud, right? So it's about the willingness to see it first. You can't see something. How many of you have lost a key and then you go looking for it and looking for it and looking for it, and then when it finally shows up, either hopefully during that search or days later, you find it in a spot that you went through 3 or 4 times, but you were so caught up in the I can't find the key that it was like, hey, I'm well, okay, right? So, I know I did that. There is one set of keys that I never did find, and I actually think I threw them away. Like, it's the only thing that makes sense because I had locked, I locked the deadbolt with the key, and the deadbolt was locked, so I know the keys made it into the house, and I never found, it was the key for my car, that expensive push button, that and the house key. Luckily, I had another house key so I could get out of the house without having to climb through a window. But all the other times, it's like, I find myself, I learned the lesson a long time ago of like sitting down and being like, okay, and I use the word Father a lot when I talk to God. Use whatever word works for you. But I'll say, all right, Father, just show me what I need to know. And I can't tell you the number of times when I've sat down and said that like a picture pops. And I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot that I went there next. And then I go, and then that's right where it is. And so why do I talk about that in the midst of talking about scarcity and prosperity? It's because it's about shifting our minds and being willing to be open to what we want to see, what is, as opposed to the other. I loved in the affirmations, I can say that. I didn't write it, so I'm not bragging on myself. Rod wrote this month's, actually. Our chaplains are taking turn writing our weekly affirmations and the monthly ones. But this final piece is exactly what I'm talking about right now on the second affirmation when it says, I envision the end result alive in this moment. You've got to, they say, the saying is, well, I'll believe it when I see it. And then the new thought lesson is you got to see it before you can believe it, right? And so then I'm like, well, no, you have to really believe it to create the internal sight of it. Like you got to have the willingness for the belief first. You got to have the willingness to be like, I'm good and I'm taken care of and I've got all this stuff, right? So there's the saying that what you believe is what you will receive. Now, plenty of people can be like, well, that's a load of crap, because, here, let me show you. I believe I have $1 million. Where is it? Well, it's because your words are not a magic potion. Your energy, your intent, like that is where you start. And you cannot lie to yourself. You can lie to me all day long. And I don't want to take the time of trying to figure out when you're lying or telling the truth. So I just choose to believe whatever you said is the truth. I mean, sometimes there's the BS meter that goes off, belief system. I don't know what BS you. Um, but you know, it's like, it's right there, right? So it's for us to look at. Here are 3 questions that she calls the toxic myths that lead into that scarcity that we were all thought to look at. Myth number 1, there is not enough. Myth number 2, more is better. And myth number 3 is, that's just the way it is. Is there any of those that we all haven't used at some point or another, right? And so it's like I'm not saying just don't think more is really good, right? But it's like, it's not about the enjoying what's around you. It's about whether you need it or not, or whether you think, if I don't have more, it's not good, right? So it's in recognize. So what she said at another point, I think I have that listed as a different quote somewhere. But she talks about that. Yeah, I'm skipping here. This is actually in the sufficiency, but I think it supports what we're talking about in scarcity. I'm not, so part of what she did is she really went to the Amazon rainforest to work with people, and she went out to deserts to help dig wells to get water for people that are in areas. She says here, I am not suggesting there is ample water in the desert. I am saying that even in the presence of scarcity of external resources, the desire and capacity for self-sufficiency are innate and enough to meet the challenges we face. This lady worked with people who lived in dire circumstances, and she worked with people that lived in great extravagance. And she found often that the people that were living in what we call poor were happy because they didn't even really recognize that they were poor. And the people that were living in the greatest extravagant were miserable because they were constantly chasing something that they thought they didn't have enough of. It's in recognizing the enoughness of your moment. That's not to say that you don't want goals for more later. It's in saying, right here, right where I am, I'm starting by being grateful that I've got everything that I need in this moment. If this moment was about buying a car, I need to go gather some other stuff. But all I need right now is a place to put my notes and a microphone to work. I don't even really need the microphone for y'all. I need the microphone for the other people there, right? So, but I've got 100% of everything that I need in this moment. And so I find gratitude in that. And I invite you to take your moment to think of, what is it that you need in this moment, and do you have everything, not for later today, not for something you did earlier, in this moment, right where you are you missing anything that you need? Not want even in that moment, right? We're sending some loving, healing energy back there to Suki because her foot's bothering her today, right? So does she have an added want? Yes, but she got right where she is. I didn't ask permission to talk about her, but I love her so much. So it's like, in this moment, are you fulfilled in this moment of what you need in this moment? Some of you's like, well, I'd be more fulfilled if you stopped talking. All right, but I'm almost done. The timer says I'm good. So insufficiency, this is another quote that she has in here, is sufficiency isn't an amount at all. It is an experience, a context we generate, a declaration, a knowing that there is enough and that we are enough. It lives in us. If we're going to the exterior to get it, if you look at an addict, like, there's other things that go on once they get chemicals or stuff that actually, you know, there's studies that shows rewiring that happens. But the kickoff of that got the chemicals in there in the first place was a belief that I need this thing from the outside to make me feel better, to make me happy, to make me whatever. I've got to go out there to get it. And so you've turned your attention in the polar opposite direction of where your true joy and love and all the true prosperity flows from. It's not that it ever even stopped flowing. You're just looking at a little trickle of a drip of water instead of the stream that is flowing through you, through us. And as a society, and as an American society, like we've almost been trained, we're supposed to be trying to have more and do more and be bigger and all of that wonderful stuff, right? And sometimes I'll jump to, well, now here are a couple of questions that I do want to ask you that I wrote down, which is, one, this, you ain't got to answer anybody but yourself, right? So one is, what is your relationship with money? Louise Hay said that she found it easier to teach. I said this last week. She found it easier to teach a workshop about sex than about money because people hold so many negative emotions around the money. So it's like, what is your relationship with it when you think of, I got to go spend on this, or I'm saving for this, The next question is, do you use it, or does it use you? Right? Some people describe that sometimes when they buy a house that's bigger than they need. The mortgage is a stretch, and then they call themselves house poor. And it's like, well, that's a nice space, but it's like, are you able to enjoy it, or are you now struggling? And you can do that with somebody that's chasing like the name. And I don't have a problem with any names. If I felt comfortable in paying for it, I'd buy a Rolls Royce just because I wanted it, right? But so I don't have a problem with any of that stuff. But it's like, are you getting it because you want it and because you enjoy it? Or are you getting it because you think you need the status of it? I know a lot of those people in LA. Do you use it to express value and integrity? So this is ultimately where she found the true value, was that, are you using money to either chase something, or are you using it to actually express where you find value? It's easy for a fundraiser who's working for charities and her job is literally to be like, hey, you should give some money to my charity. But she has a story in this book where it was, I think in the 70s, there was some food company that had some bad PR, and so they had called her and they gave her the biggest check that she had ever gotten yet as a fundraiser. But it just, like, they weren't interested in what the programming was. They weren't interested in what the money was going to be used for. They weren't interested in a conversation with her. She had her money, and now she should leave, right? And then she goes to a church in Harlem in a basement where it's raining and the roof is leaking, and people start coming off of $50 here and $50 there, and she realized that there was such a greater value because these people were putting their money, they were putting their resources in a place that they found that was important. She ended up mailing the $50,000 check back to the man because she didn't want the energy that was attached to what they were trying to do. And she said, I highly recommend that you put this somewhere that you actually find importance and that you will be able to see the good that it can do, right? And that must have worked out well for her because it's decades later and she's still going, and so are the others. So here's what I'll close with. I'm going to hit stop even though I'm not going to stop talking. Last week, over a week ago, Thursday, Overland Park, I get a text from Miranda. She thought the youth was going to work at the Coliseum last Saturday, and it turned out they had not gotten scheduled. She wanted to know if it was okay to throw a bake sale together to raise the money. And I said, sure. How much money do you need? $500. Now, the very good prosperity teaching minister who was at a conference with a whole bunch of other people that teach that stuff, I'm like, we ain't gonna get $500 from a bake sale, especially a couple of days before it's actually happening. We've not even had time to promote it. So, but then see, those thoughts, it's important to tell you those thoughts come up, because then I'm like, all right, but let me pull back and accept that everything is taken care of and whatever comes in is exactly what we'll need in that moment, right? Or better. It's always good to put the or better on that. And so Miranda reached out to let many of you know, hey, we're going to be having a bake sale, so show up prepared to buy some baked goods, right? And then the teenagers came here and let you know the importance of why these retreats are important to them, and ask you to support them. And then we let you know, hey, their goal is $500, and they did not raise $500. Do y'all know what they raised? I don't either until I pull up the text. They raised $1,333.23. And they will give you their own great gratitude about that on another Sunday. But like, we're fully ready to support them. That's where there's also the lesson on all your bulletins on the back of it. We want to make sure that you know financially where the church is when we're spending on that sort of thing. And Pat, as treasurer, asked if we could put, when we've spent more than we brought in for a month, could we put that in red, just so that you're really clear, hey, this month we didn't. And so we often have red on that column. And then it leads people to believe like, oh, well, that happens enough. Well, you know, they're just doing the best they can do, but, you know, the money's just not there. Well, the money's there. The money's not the problem. It's just the intention of where we need it. It's like, oh, well, but this is for the kids. I'm not interested in paying for that air conditioning bill. Please be willing to pay for the air conditioning bill. Please. Actually, we don't have to pay for the air conditioning bill. We just have to pay for the rent. But it's there. It's just on where we put the intent and our attention to it, right? Like, we have the power, and we say, oh, well, you know, to financially grow the church, we need more people. Well, people are not a guarantee of financial growth. People are a guarantee of another seat needed, you know, right? So it's like, the 5 people in this room could fully fund the city, forget the church. If we're fully in on it, and that's the intention, we would set about and we would then create the conditions we need to make it happen. It's within us to do what we feel we need to do. And this isn't a sales pitch for the church. It's just a place to show a great example. The sales pitch is for your life. I feel like myself, if I'm ever put in the position, and I've found ways now to have you all do the offertory ask, but it's like, my job is never to say, hey, I need you to reach deeper in your pocket. My job is to help you create some new prosperity on your life so you got something extra to tithe on. I believe that's the only way I'm doing my job correctly, right? So, and then, then it's all for us to do the very best we can do in the moment, releasing any guilt, saying, oh, well, you should have done exactly what you did because it got you to this moment to do whatever you're going to do next, right? And then next. We're all good. It's none of it's bad. Even the stuff that you're like, no, that one was definitely bad. It's all good. We're all in a good flow. We're all moving forward in beautiful, beautiful ways. I had some other note I was supposed to tell you about, and then I'm supposed to stop talking. Yeah, so I ask for your prayers on this too. There's going to be a meeting with some folks, and if it's something you're like, well, they didn't ask me. If you want to come, you can come too. We're going to have a meeting upstairs about where we are financially on finding our next home space. Now, I've been using that the water was turned off in this building as a way of like, we got to hurry, and now they've turned the water back on. So we don't have to hurry, but we've been given the signs that it is time to move into our own church space and figuring out what all that means. And is there a space that not only serves what we need as a church, but also can we have a space that has its own financial earning stream of its own that can create passive income for us, and what that might look at. So there's a meeting with some people and to ask questions about investors, because it's like, all right, we've got this one budget. And right now it looks like that budget, if we were working off of our own money and what would be approved for, would be $250,000. Go try and buy a house for $250 in Greensboro. It ain't going to be big, so it's not going to, right? But it's so, and then one came up this week that was $1.9 million. That's way more than $250, right? And it's like, and so it seems like an easy no, but it's like, well, let's have the first question be, well, what's the other potential financial stream, earning stream that can come from that? Where can we find our yes before we go to the no? The 1.9 is probably a no, because there are other options between 250 and 1.9, right? But it's in finding our yeses. And so I invite you, whether you are in the meeting or whether you're just sending your loving energy that way as we work on these answers, to help us all find our collective yes. We're not making any move till everybody's in on it. Here's where I'll close, on the exact same Bible verse that I used last week. And last night when I was like, no, I gotta find something new. And it's like, no, this may be used all 4 weeks. Matthew 6:21. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. It's when we're from the within out, from within out, from within out. I love you. I bless you. I behold the Christ in you. And thank you for being here today.
Wow. Well, after that, I'm not sure I need to say much. That idea of within out is the whole enchilada, as we say sometimes. So this is our time to an opportunity to financially support that which lights our fire at Unity in Greensboro. And is it the unity message of oneness, love, and unity that has changed us? And that message has matured us? Or is it about the fellowship or the opportunity to serve one another and the greater community? Or is it about all of those things? So when I look back to the person I was in 1978, when I first found unity, and the person I am today, I have seen me mature both spiritually and emotionally. And I am so, so grateful. Thanks to unity, I have tools now that allow me to shift quickly from a place of dis-ease to a place of ease. Or to never actually go to that dis-ease place in the first place. Okay, so that's what unity has given me and why I have been faithful in supporting it with my time, my talent, and my ties. And I really encourage you to, if you haven't gotten that passion for our message yet, to discover it in yourself. And know that we, through our Sunday services, through our classes, that we can help each other do just what I was talking about, grow ourselves, mature ourselves, both spiritually and emotionally. So I'm excited about being a part of this community, and know that as each of us joins together in taking ownership for its forward movement, not only are we blessed, but we bless others within our group here and other people with whom we come in contact. We can each be a part of expanding our reach. UIG has made it super easy, as you'll see up there, to support our message financially. So whether you're texting, clicking the donate button, or giving now in person, UIG has these fast, easy ways to secure. So if the ushers would come forward and begin to collect whatever offerings people have. So if you don't have anything physically, just bless it. Bless it and see us increasing our offerings to do that which we have chosen, that we choose. And so I really want to encourage people to come to this meeting that Wally's talking about as well, because that's a part of us making choices about where we want to be and how we want to see ourselves going forward. And so you ready to sing?
Yeah. Singing time.
Thank you, Charlotte.
All right, we're just going to do the short version. All right, join us if you can in sending your energy towards the gifts as they come up, and let us sing this together. Thank you, God, for everything. 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 And together let us affirm this together on our gifts. Unity in Greensboro is abundantly blessed. Creative people are drawn to us. Divine ideas flow through us. Financial resources bless us. And we are accomplishing mighty works together. And so it is. All right, because I talked too long, and if you just really need to sing the peace song, call me later. I'll sing it with you. But for the 11 o'clock thing, I'm going to have them sing, and then you do announcements.
We're going to take you on the road to Shambhala. Yeah.
Wash away my troubles, wash away my pain with the rain in Shambhala. Wash away my sorrows, wash away my shame with the rain in Shambhala.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Everyone is helpful, everyone is kind on the road to Shambhala. Everyone is so lucky, everyone is so kind on the road to Shambhala. How does your light shine on the road to Shambhala? How does your light shine on the road to Shambhala?
I can tell my sister by the flowers in her eyes on the road to Shambhala.
I can tell my brother by the flowers in his eyes on the road to Shambhala. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. How does your light shine on the road to Shambhala? How does your light shine on the road to Shambhala? Tell me, how does your light shine on the road to Shambhala? Tell me, how does your light shine on the road to Shambhala? Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah.
On the road
On the road to Shambhala.
on the road
On the road to Shambhala. On the road to Shambhala. On the road to Shambhala. Thanks, everybody.
Now that we're back from Shambhala, announcements. And first of all, we have an announcement from Charlotte.
I'm getting a lot of airtime today. So that wanted to talk about this workshop that I'm going to be conducting on July the 22nd. And it will be actually in person from 10 to 4 on Saturday, and then we'll be on Zoom 3 evenings. And those are the practice sessions. So the title for this is called Release Your Hidden Splendor, Excise, don't you love that word? Excise your shadow. So how many of you would own that you get triggered by another person or situation? People around here get triggered from time to time? Okay. And that you pretty much automatically begin making up stories about the situation and basically seeing that person or that situation as your enemy. Okay. Ugh. And our enemies can be our bodies, like self-image, disability, illness, relationships, or life situation. But how you know that you are in relationship to an enemy is when you want things to be different. and you want to separate from or change the situation or person that seems against you. So this workshop is based on the notion that the universe is always, always, always for us. Therefore, it teaches us how to befriend our enemies, seeing them as blessings, believe it or not, who are there to help us uncover and heal our wounds so that we may be the person that we came here to be. And as we were doing that very first part that you did this morning, I was like, oh, that's the lesson plan right there, going through all of those 10 different ways that, I mean, everything that we're going to be covering in this process, which is, let me see what it actually is called. It'd be good if I remember what it is I'm doing. This process, anyway, will help us uncover those things that we are holding on to from our past that block us. And it's a process that teaches you how to release those things. So I really, really, really encourage everyone who can to come. And there is a sign-up sheet on the back. And if you'll let me know sooner than later, because I will need to get some materials and things together, quite a few. And there's also a $60 charge for the program. But I wanted to say up front that if that is not doable for you for any reason, talk to me and that we'll work something out. Because I would not want to see anyone not participate because of finances.
Thank you for doing that, Charlotte. If you're a first-time visitor or haven't been here in a long time and have received a welcome bag, fill out the visitor connection card and give it to an usher, or just leave it on your way out. If you haven't received a bag, raise your hand. We have a gift for you. So the Spiritual Prosperity Book Study with Reverend Wally White this Wednesday, July 12th at 6:30. Mm-hmm. It says in person on Zoom or Zoom? Zoom only. Regard what they write. Oh Hippie Day is Sunday, July 30th. Hippie Church here at 10 a.m. And then the Peace, Love, and Unity Concert fundraiser is at High Point City Lake Park, shelter number 6, the same shelter that we were at for the picnic, from 4:30 to 6. We'll be featuring music from the 60s and 70s, benefiting Unity in Greensboro's music program and capital campaign. Check the table in the back for sign-up sheets and for other upcoming and ongoing activities. Also, what about the baseball tickets? Everybody's gotten their tickets and.
If you bought tickets, I'm sorry, in case somebody's on there. Yeah, if you bought tickets, we have tickets in the back, but like those were done back in March, so I haven't included it in the announcements. Got anything else? No. All right. Oh, it's Tuesday the 25th is the game at the Grasshoppers. But and the tickets are like hard copy, like old school day. You show up without your ticket, you don't get in. You know, it's not on the phone. It's just a piece of paper, and those are in the back in envelopes with people's names on them that paid for them. Or if you haven't paid yet, you know who you are. Anyway, all right. So next week we will. I just want to make it really clear that as we do this series and that we're talking about money, that ultimately this is a study of how we use our spiritual energy and how we spend that. And so next week we'll be looking at that with a lesson that's called the 3 truths. What are the 3 truths? Come next week and find out. And Tanya Ross will be our musician, so yay on that. All right, let us, if you will, stand. If you can hold hands if you want. If you'd rather not, place them in the air. And let us do the affirmation together. Oh, no, we're skipping that song altogether. Yeah. Yes, but thanks. You can play it underneath us while we do this. That'll make some people feel good. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us, and the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, love is, peace is, light is, God is, and all is well. And so it is. Go have a great day on purpose.